Welcome to another episode of Let There Be Talk, brought to you by my sponsor, Standard and Strange. You want some great denim, you're looking for boots, you're looking for the best stuff on the planet, it's all in one shop. It is my favorite shop, absolutely. Standard and Strange carries all my favorite brands like Momotaro Denim and the Real McCoys, Buco, John Lofgren Boots, and the great Y2 Leathers. You can visit their brand new store, which I did when I was in New York, in the Lower East Side. They've got a store open there now. Oh, just a killer store, too. And then Berkeley, of course, Berkeley, Oakland. Go to standardandstrange.com. Check it out. Tell them I sent you. Follow their Instagram. Give them a call. Ask for Jeremy or Neil. Tell them you heard about it on Let There Be Talk. Standardandstrange.com. It is July 18th. It is a Monday, and I'm just back from Fort Collins, Colorado. Did 4 shows headlining, and it was probably the most fun I've had headlining in a long, long time. This is a new club called the Comedy Fort, and it's owned by a comedian, David Rodriguez. And I got to tell you, it was just, if every weekend was like Fort Collins and every club was like David, you know, every owner, it would be like you were stealing money. It was so perfect. And there's a town I'd never been to. And another town that's in the back of my brain of like, I could probably live here. Fort Collins, really cool, old school downtown. They got that old town with the bricks and just the mom and pop types of shops, you know. It's not just loaded with fucking chains. It reminds me a lot of growing up in the San Francisco Bay Area, pre-chains, where you just go in and like the Cheers song, where everybody knows your name, you know. But it was unbelievable. Shout out to the 2 comedians that were on the show with me, Luke Gaston and Kyle Pogue. Very funny. It was a magic weekend. Thank you, the Comedy Fort. And most of all, thank you to everybody that came out. A couple of the shows were sold out, which was amazing. And if you're in Fort Collins or you're in Colorado, Denver area, give it a visit. Great comics coming up. Bobcat's going to be there, and so is Eddie Pepitone. Eddie Pepitone will be there this week. So, holy smokes, man. And I will be back there in March. And so that's how much I love that right when I got off stage. And they loved me, apparently, because they booked me right away. That's how it's fucking supposed to be done. If you enjoy the comedian and everything went great, you go, hey, this looks good, let's do it again, and you book it on the spot. And instead of like fucking chasing it down 2 years later, that's the old way. Let's get you back in here right away in 6, 8, 10 months. Teehees does that, and a few other clubs. So thank you so much, David, for just killing. And he's a great comedian. Guy did JFL. He's a comedian, so he understands how to run a club and what comedians love and don't love about rooms and all that. So yeah, good to be back. Couple weekends of headlining, felt really good. Austin last weekend and Colorado this week, and now I'm waiting to start up the mighty behemoth known as the Youngblood Tour with Marcus King, which is, I think, about 38 dates around America. We're doing 2 nights Beacon, a couple nights at the Ryman. We're at the Tabernacle, the Wiltern, the Masonic, all over America, doing some really prestigious rooms. And I'm going to be doing comedy. Marcus is, of course, going to be doing fucking his incredible next level rock and roll. The great Neil Francis will be there, tickling the keys. This is a dream come true and a very much a mystery on how it's going to go. for me every night doing comedy on a rock tour. But Marcus loves the idea. I love the idea. Neil loves it. And Marcus and I have been talking about it for about 4 years. So Youngblood Tour is coming through America starting September 9th, I believe, or 8th. Tour dates are on DeanDaleRay.com. And so is merch. I'm sold out of the hats now. The hats are completely gone. They went like crazy in Fort Collins. But I will tell you this. There are some Gertie shirts left. There are some of the Dean Del Rey Perry Shawl shirts. And you can go to the website right now and get those before they are gone. The Grail. The Grail is up and running in full force. My other podcast, The Grail. We are, I think, on episode 65 or 6 or something. Just had Jorge Grazia on, who is an amazing architect down in Mexico, doing some of the greatest homes around Cabo and Todos Santos and also around America, including he's doing something at downtown Disney, and he just built an amazing house in Napa, I believe it was, or Sonoma, and Palm Springs. He's all over, and his stuff is amazing, and his story is next level. And after that, I will have the CEO of North America, the North America CEO of Ducati. That'll be my next guest on The Grail. This Thursday night, I will be at the Irvine Improv with my great friend, Eric Griffin. Come on down and see us this Thursday night. Also, tomorrow night, if you're in LA, I will be at Yamashiro's up on the hill there doing Jay Davis's comedy show, which is a fantastic evening of sushi and comedy. And that shouldn't be a combination, but it works and it's great. This fucking building is amazing. So those are a couple of the shows, and then I'll be at the Comedy Store all week, which I'm looking forward to. I'm home for a few weeks, just trying to fucking get the new shit going, trying to get the new jokes going. Patreon.com/Dean Del Rey for all your bonus episodes. And I will be doing a live Zoom with all of my Patreoners tonight. I do a Zoom once a week. It's fun. Hang out with the Zoomers, the Patreoners. And that will be tonight, I do believe. My guest today, I love to find new bands. I love to dig in. And that's what I got for you today. I have a band, a Los Angeles band, which is even cooler, called Goon. And they have a new record out. It came out Friday, July 15th, called Hour of Green Evening. And if you like Radiohead and you like some cool indie rock, this is for you. I love indie rock. I love that. We dive into it. My guest is Kenny Becker, who is the singer-songwriter of Goon. And we dive into that, that thing that was happening around in the 2000s where there was just a lot of great indie rock. Elliott Smith, Strokes, Sparkle Horse. We talk a lot about Sparkle Horse. If you never listened to Sparkle Horse, it was a record in 95. Viva Dixie's Submarine Transmission Plot. It's one of those long, like Fiona Apple type album names, but Sparkle Horse had a great record out, and Kenny and I bond over some Sparkle Horse, but most of all, we bond over our love of Los Angeles and playing rock and roll and the history of rock and roll in Los Angeles. Imagine being a Los Angeles band. That is... when you think about the great ones, the Doors, Weezer. I was thinking about Weezer is an LA band. Isn't that fucking wild? Anyway, there's a ton of LA bands, but I'm just jabbering here in the morning at 9:40 on a Monday, fresh back from fucking doing hours of comedy and airports. Ooh, the airports are fucking crazy right now. These fucking people at the airport, what are you doing? Fucking move. All right, Kenny Becker, it was great to talk to you. Reggie Watts loves this band, and he's been shouting them out, and they're going to be doing a record release party coming up. We talk about that, and Reggie Watts' band's going to also be playing at the record release. Go listen to their record right now. It is out, and also check out their first record. Which, by the way, this... the tunes I recommend on this record that are absolutely great are Wavy Maze and Emily Says. Oh, man. I mean, the whole record's fantastic. Before I get out of here, I just want to... I got some bad news over the weekend while I was out doing stand-up. And I will tell you this right now, that the Comedy Store and the comedians... and also the Cellar and the Stand and the comedy community, really, that I have been part of for almost 13 years now. This community it's a small tight-knit family. Look, there's definitely some rivalries and there's that kind of thing, but we all look out for each other. I would hope so, I would think so. But, this is my family. And for the last 13 years, these are my friends. I cannot imagine, never starting comedy and not having these people in my life. So when we lose one, it is fucking brutal. It is brutal. And especially... when it's somebody from the Comedy Store. And over the weekend, we lost a very young, amazing comedian, a super talent. And his name's Jack Knight. If you don't know who Jack Knight was, do yourself a favor and go watch some of his videos. He was a talent and he was loved. And we lost him over the weekend, man. And it's just fucking, it's horrific. It is horrific when we lose somebody in our comedy community, especially, a young, rising, super talented, funny human that Jack Knight was. So my heart goes out to his family and his close friends, and shit, man, it's a real sad day when we lose a comedian. Shout out to you, Jack Knight. Big love, man. Okay, I hope everybody has a great week. Get up, get out there, and just enjoy life. It is wild out there, people. It is wild. But remember to have fun. Here he is right now, Kenny Becker of the Los Angeles band Goon. All right, here we are, another episode of Let There Be Talk. This is a great guest, kind of a fairly new band, I would think. We will get into it, but my guest is Kenny Becker of Goon, which, by the way, I don't know how this band name wasn't taken, but what a great fucking band name. That's one of those ones where you're like, damn, I should have thought of that. Was it taken? Did you research it?
There are a couple, but it's funny. We had the same conversation when my buddy Zach, a few years ago, he said exactly that. He was like, you know what totally sounds like a band name that should have existed in the 90s, but kind of didn't. And then he said Goon, and I was like, I'm taking that.
So good, it was funny because the day I was asked if I wanted to interview you, my buddy had called me earlier, and he does this kind of thing where drug counseling and stuff. And I guess there's a term going around. in the with the younger group
Yeah.
that, if you're one of those drug addict kids and your parents are rich, they hire someone in the middle of the night to come grab you and put you into one of those, rehabs.
Sure.
And they call it gooned. I've been gooned. I don't know why, but that was the same day. I was like, how the fuck do I hear this word twice?
Yeah, we were realizing it's weird. There's like a weird, like the band, the Goon Sax, like just broke up, like I think yesterday or a few days ago. Which, doesn't like, it's not a particular connection. It's just kind of funny that it's like one of the other bands with the name Goon is like is up in the, I guess, headlines or whatever.
Just excellent band name. When you researched it, there were other bands called Goon. Because I mean, when I was young, you had to research the band name because I had a band name and then another band was using it and I sold them the name because I owned it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. But did you research it and find out if they were still together, or how does that work?
From what, like back when I first looked into it, it looked like the best I could find was another Goon that was from like New Zealand maybe, and they were like they were long since inactive. Right. I felt kind of like, I was just like, I'm just gonna go for it.
It's so funny, man, when you said another Goon. Hey, look at that Goon over there. It's such a great word, Goon.
Yeah. Well, we always kind of like, one kind of weird coincidence we realized actually also through my buddy Zach, because he's a huge Ween fan. And we realized that we actually have a lot in common with Ween because they also have a 4-letter band name that ends with an N and has like a double vowel in the middle. And they also have a song that's like, it's like starred out, but it's like called the Fucked Jam. And I didn't even know that when I named one of our songs F Jam, because I just called it that because it was in the key of F. But we realized that weird synchronicity, I guess, later. And then also they have like that logo of like that weird kind of like demon guy that they sort of made up, like deity. And I also kind of did that we don't really use him as a logo that much. I mean, he's on shirts and stuff, but there is kind of like this little monster guy logo. So I think those are the main. And one of their first songs was like the Pushing Up the Little Daisies or whatever. Our like first song that we ever put out, Green Peppers, the opening line is like pushing all my daisies up, which these are all things I realized after the fact. Like I didn't do it on purpose.
I think Ween's one of those bands, either you love them or you don't like them. I don't know any part-time Ween fans.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're polarizing, definitely.
Yeah. It's for years. People are just like, dude, you got to check out Ween. And I'm like, what do you think? I haven't checked them out. Like Ween and Clutch, nonstop, DMs and emails on it. It's like, hey man, I'm obviously a music freak. You think I haven't heard Ween and Clutch? And they're like, well, you're crazy. If you don't, and it's like, I didn't say I didn't like them. It's just like, there's no part-time fans of Ween, it's
right.
It's all in. And also Ween has different eras, they're, like some of it's kind of a comedy and some of it's, regular, quote unquote kind of music,
Yeah, absolutely. And then they did that like country record that was like, man, I'm totally gonna mess up the name. I think it's like 13 Country Greats or something, and they hired like a full on like session players to play on it, but it's only like 11 songs or something.
Yeah.
They called it 13 or something.
I get it. There's always bands that people that's their band, and it's funny because Sparkle Horse was one of those bands with me, years ago. Yeah. And I felt like no one listened to Sparkle Horse except for me and David Emmergluck from the Counting Crows. We were friends and we were so into it, And that guy's story was so wild, and his music was fantastic. And then when I was pitched to have you guys on the show, I was like, oh yeah, I kind of know where this is coming from. You know, it's definitely got the Sparkle Horse, Radiohead, atmospheric, and very, very indie flavor. It's a great sounding new record. And your last record, Heaven is Humming, you said F Jam. I feel like F Jam and Wavy Maze are kind of these brothers.
Yeah.
But the rest of the new record definitely doesn't have the flavor of Heaven is Humming at all. It's gone even further into because I think the first record, it does have some kind of Nirvana type of jangly and guitar sounds, and the guitar, really, you nailed it. Actually, there is some heavy perfect guitar Nirvana tones on it,
Thanks, dude. Yeah, that's definitely what we were striving for back with Heaven is Humming. And there's definitely an intentional shift towards kind of like, I don't know, just maybe wanting to be less of like a quote unquote grunge band or whatever.
Right.
But like you said, Wavy Maze, that song, we weren't planning on really, putting a sort of angular heavy track really on the record, I guess. But it just kind of happened, and we're super, super stoked on it. So
it's a fantastic vibe, that song. It grabbed me in the middle. It's in the middle of the record. And then Emily Says, those two kind of back to back really have this, because I understand what the rest of the record is. It's fantastic. It's airy sound, and it's kind of, like if you like Radiohead, people, you're going to love this record. It's not that it sounds like it, but it's in that kind of vibe, which is a hard vibe to do, really, if somebody sits down to try to do it. But the first record is definitely, more like Critter and stuff like that, is grungy and dirty and very cool. And this record is very cool too. I like to see when bands change from record to record to record.
Yeah, totally. Thanks, man. Yeah, we're trying to just always be, pushing forward and trying new stuff, and, trying a new thing, but also like fully committing to it in a way where it's like, feels like maybe there's, not to sound too, whatever, but like that there's maybe like a little risk involved, because it's like, we are sort of straying from what people have told us they liked about us in the past. But it feels good. We're really stoked on this record, and tried to channel Radiohead and Sparkle Horse definitely, like, as much as possible.
Even some Buckley. There's even some kind of Buckley vibe in there,
Totally, kind of like theatrical almost.
Right.
Yeah, with like the sort of, I don't really know how to describe it. Yeah, like somewhat esoteric, like chord changes and stuff that. But then you try to, because Buckley was so good at like taking really weird chord progressions, but making them feel really like natural. So I don't know if, we ever will be as great as he was, but we definitely tried.
It really reminds me of when I first moved to LA. I moved to Silver Lake like 21 years ago, and Spaceland is happening.
Yeah.
And of course, we've got the heavy shoegaze era and everything. And there was this fantastic sound going on. There was like 20, 25 bands or so that were just all great. And then that seemed to have gone away. And, kind of early Coachella, you would go to the side stage or the tent, and you would just see tons of great music, and that kind of went away. Don't you agree?
For sure. Yeah. Who were some of the bands that you like were really into in that scene? Because did you ever know Early Mart?
I didn't know Early Marts.
Okay. And then I know, like, I don't know if this was around that time, but there's also like Entrance Band that was like, a little more like psych rock, but there definitely was more of like more of like a rock and roll thing happening in the East Side.
Also, if you got into kind of Elliott Smith, Stupidity Tries. And also the Strokes were really, even though that was New York, and Yeah Yeah Yeahs. And there was, and Beck, what Beck was doing at the time with like, the EP, there was just this really kind of insane art rock going on that was really cool. And I think, and of course, Radiohead after Creep on the Benz record is when this all starts to really flow. And it just seemed like all the bands, as funny as this sounds, were great. I was like, this band's great. Next one, this band's great,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm definitely obsessed with all of those and don't want to be necessarily like throwbacky about it or whatever, but like I can't help but, have those are the influences for sure. So it kind of.
Yeah. Even the Libertines. I mean, that was just, Pete Doherty. The Libertines were just unreal, weird, jangly heroin rock,
Yeah.
It was a really magic time. And this new record kind of really took me back to that. As I listened through it, I was like, oh wow, man, this, and unintentionally too. I was just kind of like having these feelings of like, oh wow, man, when I first moved here, Spaceland, and people were just, wearing leather jackets and playing guitars again. It was quite wild to see,
Unfortunately, we never got to play Spaceland before it has now, succumbed to the pandemic or whatever. And, but I worked at a coffee shop right across the street from there for like 5 years.
I love that place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that whole neighborhood was great, man.
Yeah.
I lived there behind Spaceland, a couple blocks up on a street called Redesdale. And I would just walk down the street, and I would just be like in it, it was just this corner of earth where just rock was happening.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome.
Now, did you grow up in LA?
I grew up in San Diego. Actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Grew up in San Diego and then moved up this way for college. And then after graduating college, I was like, I want to do music. And so moved, into Pasadena first, and then have just kind of hopped around LA for the last I don't even know how long now, 6 or 7 years, I think, maybe more. Like bad at math. But what about you? Where are you from?
I'm from the Bay Area. So
cool.
and played music. So I moved down here when San Francisco kind of really became a ghost town. It was when the rave scene was really hitting SF. Live music was kind of dying out for a while. You had the bottom of the hill and everything, but a lot of the major clubs had closed because of the .com and everything, of like the Paradise Lounge and the DNA Lounge, and Slim's is gone now. But I moved down here, and it just like music was very, very much alive, and it still is very much alive. And it's a different world now, with the do-it-yourself, and you can record at home. The technology just got so much further. I mean, I remember when I was recording at home for the first era, it was ADATs, and it was just awful, like just bad Betamax or VHS tapes you were recording on, and the machines, were slow to sync up, and they sounded very, very flat. For digital, it was just squished. But now, like listening to this record of yours, it sounds incredible. And I was like, well, this thing sounds amazing. Was it done on tape or a studio or a house?
So this is the first time we've ever done a proper sort of quote unquote studio record, because everything leading up to this has been very sort of DIY, put it together ourselves and just record where we can. But this one, we did do it on tape. And we did it at this really great little studio in Glendale called Tropico Beauty.
Wow.
Which is like Yeah, it's awesome. It's named after the strain of strawberries that used to grow like right there. So they have these big like strawberries painted on the outside of the building.
Wow, who owns that?
So our two friends, Greg and Phil Hartunian, as far as I know, they're the ones that run the studio. And I've been friends with both of them for a while. Phil is the one who like engineered and ended up co-producing our sessions together. And yeah, we did it on this big awesome Atari 2-inch tape machine, and they have
Excellent.
all the good, hardware there. So everything, yeah, got that kind of lovely, warm, but like super hi-fi. Like that tape machine almost sounds like a computer. It's almost like too perfect, like
Yeah, yeah.
but it was really fun to do that. And we almost like, yeah, like a relic of the past in a way, where we would get a really great live take, but like Dylan or someone else would be like, ah, damn, like that was really good, but I fucked up at one part. Like, can we punch in? And we would like punch in using that old like the tape thing, and it was kind of that nerve wracking. Like,
Oh yeah, like splicing tape and all that.
yeah, but it was fun, and so and then but after we did the live sessions like that, and recorded the bulk of the core of all the songs that we also did. We got some string players in there. My wife Emily is a cellist, and she had two of her friends, Heather Lockie on viola and Eric Clark on violin, came in and did a string trio on a lot of the songs. And then after that, I like took the record home and I ended up adding a lot of like kind of cassette tape loops and little textures and synth stuff to just sort of add a little more atmosphere to it. And yeah, it's pretty much how we made it.
Now, the first record, it was actually different players in a different band. Right now, you have new players. Let's talk a little bit about how Goon starts. So you move out from San Diego, you're living in LA. Do you like go to Guitar Center and put notes up on the board, or you checking on Facebook? How do you find players? And then were you guys gigging? Because I've never seen you guys and I'm out quite a bit. But
Yeah.
how does this all start? The beginning of Goon.
Yeah. It was around like 2015 or so that I was like, I want to do this. And me and three college buddies, Drew Eccleston, Caleb Wicker, and Christian Coons, we kind of formed the band. But at that point, it was basically like I would record and write everything. And we would have these recordings that then we would kind of try to learn as a band. And yeah, we would start gigging around. We ended up kind of in those years. We would play like the hi-hat, which doesn't exist anymore. It's called the Goldfish now in Highland Park. That was kind of like the main spot we would play. We did the Echo a few times and the Bootleg, which also now doesn't exist. But
Oh yeah, the bootleg.
yeah.
What's that other place downtown? I love it with the Airstream as the bar. Place is amazing.
Resident.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that place is tight.
What a great room, man. What
Yeah,
a great room.
cool vibe for sure. Yeah, they got those like lights on the floor of the
Yeah.
stage.
I'd love to do a comedy special in there. It's just cool.
Yeah, dude, you should.
I know,
I
right?
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys are playing and then you record a record. Do you go out and tour, or were you just putting the stuff out on like all the websites like SoundCloud and Bandcamp and all that?
Yeah, we started off with the first two EPs were basically kind of like what I mentioned, like self-recorded, where I more or less just played everything on it and put those out totally on Bandcamp. And then like all the while, we were kind of working on what would become Heaven is Humming. But like through that process, like I said, we had no clue how to do it, but like we knew we wanted it to be like really big and like better than the EPs and like a full, thing and all this stuff. So it just was like something we worked on for a really long time. And at that point, we were kind of showing it around, and we ended up signing with Partisan Records, and then finally finished mixing that record and put it out with Partisan. And we also reissued the EPs with them on vinyl and like added another song to them and all of that. And yeah, we did some touring. We like, yeah, just kind of like stuff here and there. We did like a North America tour with our buddies from Vancouver in Canada, this really great kind of grungy band called Dead Soft, and did kind of like a 5-week thing with them, and did some West Coast dates with this UK band called Shame.
Oh, they're great. Oh
yeah,
my God, the band's so good. Holy
they're
shit.
so tight.
Did you play the Roxy show?
No, we didn't play. We played Terragram with them.
Oh yeah.
in
Fucking
LA.
great band, dude.
Yeah. And actually we also played at the Echo with them on their first LA show. They are they're just like a band, a actual band, and there's something about having a dedicated lead singer like that doesn't play an instrument that I think is, very theatrical and exciting. But yeah.
When you're young, I don't know how old you are now, but you're obviously influenced by grunge early on. Was that the music you came up on? Were you like listening to Alice in Chains and Nirvana and Soundgarden and stuff?
I kind of discovered that stuff. I feel like I discovered it later for sure. It was kind of I growing up in San Diego, my favorite bands were basically like Pinback and like, I don't know. I really loved Switchfoot growing up. But
wow. Wow.
yeah, the classic San Diego bands. But yeah, that grungy stuff I got into in college, and I actually also got into the Beatles in college. Like I didn't really listen to them growing up either, and so it's kind of like college was a very kind of musical awakening time for me. And yeah.
Yeah, when you listen to Heaven is Humming, of course, there's the kind of Nirvana guitar tones and stuff, but there is also this Soundgarden, early Soundgarden of Flop and the EP and stuff. Before they become what they become, they're really noisy and they've got some Pavement flavor and stuff.
Yeah.
So they're a totally different band then, and I can definitely hear some of that stuff in the first record also, which is very cool because some people they try to label grunge, which is hilarious because they needed to call it something to sell it to people, but all the bands sound completely different, but the key thing was they all had great songs.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's the goal for sure, is like, it's obviously fun to be loud, but like you want to have some kind of anchor underneath it that like would still be good if you just played it with like acoustic guitar,
Absolutely. That's what it's about. Can you play this song on stage on your own?
Yeah.
I mean, perfect example of that was to see these quote unquote grunge bands doing the MTV Unplugged, Nirvana, Alice in Chains. When you saw them, it was almost more powerful without the distortion and shit because you were really hearing the tune and the passion and the lyrics, and you're just kind of like, wow, this shit is heavy, man.
Yeah, there's like the excitement of it being loud and distorted is sort of peeled away, and you just, especially being able to connect with like the lyrics and the vocal element more, I think it's very very impactful. And I actually think like, I don't know, a bit of like a tangent off of that, but like Elliott Smith and Sparkle Horse too, that they both have this like vocal effect kind of going on where it feels like they're literally just like singing right into your ear,
Oh yeah.
And of course, Sparkle Horse, definitely he does that, like just like he's like right on the mic and he like compresses it so hard that it like you hear just like every little
the
detail.
breath, the snapping on everything in there. It's just kind of like, and it's really it's definitely a cool draw you in thing. It's just kind of like, wow. I mean, there was even a band like 16 Horsepower, that I was way into.
Oh, I didn't know them.
Oh yeah, they're from Colorado.
Cool.
The EP is really what you need, but there's definitely that sound. These bands come around and they have that. You can tell what they're going for. It's a lo-fi, heavy compressed, recording. Beck really killed it. Really killed it with what he was doing. And going back to what you're talking about of cassette tape loops and lo-fi. There's nothing better than a great lo-fi record that sounds amazing. Because some lo-fi, your lo-fi, you're like, this is terrible,
Yeah, that is such a fascinating, like, I don't know if dichotomy is the right word, or like tension or something, because like lo-fi sounds awesome sometimes, but like you have to like, there's like this weird, like, I don't know if this is true all of the time, but I've noticed that like if you want something to sound more lo-fi, which was sort of what we were aiming for on the EP that we put out earlier this year called Paint by Numbers, Volume 1. And that was not done in a studio. That was kind of like, I guess, harkening back a bit to our roots of just doing it all ourselves. But like there was this feeling that we kind of realized that you can basically, if you have one element in the song that's like really lo-fi, like a guitar or a synth or something, and then everything else around it is like not as lo-fi, people will still perceive it as being pretty lo-fi. So you can almost like sneak it into the, like, make the song feel more lo-fi than it actually is by having, I don't know. Yeah. So
yeah, that's true. I get it, because sometimes the band could be completely amazing sound, and then you have a lo-fi vocal, like a morphine or something, Cure for Pain, just kind of where it's almost a weird radio vocal, that be a cure for pain, like
or even like Strokes kind of, like classic thing.
Total lo-fi vocal. I think that I truly believe that the Strokes is like, for me, is the greatest band in a long time. Radiohead, Strokes, the Mars Volta, these bands that were just so, I mean, the Strokes, we knew what they were doing, it's television, it's that New York, that whole sound, Lou Reed and all that. But it was just so great because of the songs, a lot of it, man. It was weird. It was almost this burnout, last night, like he didn't care, but he did care, it was wild.
Yeah, there's some alchemy going on there that it's like, it's truly one of those like greater than the sum of its parts type of thing, but like each of the individual parts are so like solid.
And Julian's side band, the Voids, I think, fucking fantastic. Wow. So once you record the first record and you're out touring and everything, you lose some guys. What happens? Where was it the classic? Just like, wow, I kind of I didn't want to be full-time music, or some people get like wake up calls like, kind of gonna get a job now,
Yeah, I think it was exactly that. And it was a very amicable, kind of mutual understanding thing that like they all more or less wanted to kind of, have kids and get more of a full-time stable income.
I get it.
Very understandable, and but we're all, good friends still. And like it was, so that as well as getting dropped from our label was like a close of a chapter. And then of course the pandemic happened, and then like right before the pandemic happened, we had solidified the new lineup. So we were able to spend that time of isolation to just continue writing and rehearsing and ultimately recording this album. And so that's kind of chapter 2 that we're in now,
And then you got a new deal?
No, we're totally independent.
Oh, that's great. That's
Yeah, we were
great.
just like, fuck it, I kept feeling like, man, it's sad, like I kept kind of feeling like this weird mental, like self-imposed mental block that like I couldn't put out music again if I wasn't signed or something,
Oh,
which just
I
felt
know. I went through that too, where you're kind of like, I don't want to. If you really love something, you're kind of like, man, I don't want to put this out unless everybody can hear it, which
right.
is lunacy because it doesn't matter if you're on a major label and they don't promote it or anything, no one hears it. So
Right.
it's definitely too because of the era I was playing music in. It wasn't what it is now, where you had all these avenues. So it was just kind of like, man, if we don't get a
Right.
deal, then I got to print up 5,000 CDs, and that's what I did. I'm hustling
Right.
them at the gigs, and at the end of the day, it's almost way better because you own the music, and at any time it could take off in this day and age of a viral song, or like, for instance, Reggie Watts digging you, or whatever. I mean, look at that band Ghost. All it took was James Hetfield to wear a Ghost shirt on stage, and then people are like, "Who's Ghost?" And now they're doing arenas. So anything can happen, and you have to just keep writing, recording, and playing live, and putting all kinds of irons in the fire. And look, you got all
Yeah.
kinds of shit now: TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, where you can just make your own videos with an iPhone. It's wild.
Yeah, man. I I'm trying, or yeah, I feel like I was able to flip that feeling of like not being able to put out music unless we were signed or something into more of like, it's like maybe, that's a really constrictive way of thinking. And, like you said, there's so much available to us now. And it's like, why not just like keep, like I also kind of came to the realization that it's like, this is just like what I want to do. So whether or not I'm able to justify it from like a label or like I don't know, some kind of perspective like that, it's like, this is just, yeah, it's what I love to do. And so,
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, man. It's like,
yeah,
I'm a comedian now, and I was like, man, I'm not gonna get a Netflix special. And all these other guys are like shooting their stuff and putting it onto YouTube. And now I have to just let it go. I still got that old world in me, like you're talking about. And I'm like, I gotta get
right.
the fucking thing out of me. And also it's personal drive is really what it comes down to. Do you have the personal drive to keep going without, not necessarily accolades or somebody going, this is great, but just to keep going, knowing that maybe somebody isn't hearing this or seeing this? So then you have to dig into your heart and go, I don't care. I'm doing this because fucking I love it. And that's how I look at my comedy. I'm like, hey, man, I'm doing it, you know?
Yeah. And it's like all these things that you want to do in life, like you're still going to want to do them in 20 years. So you might as well just do it now when you're, and yeah, like the universe is abundant and it's full of, you know, growth and life. And as bleak as the world seems, sometimes it's possible to still just like release imperfect music imperfectly, but just keep doing it. Cause like, and I don't know, like I've been as like, it's nothing, not too original to do this or whatever, but I've been thinking about the Beatles a lot and how, it's like their early output was just like crazy. And they have like a label and all these, maybe external pressures and deadlines and stuff. But regardless, like there's this feeling that I kind of am able to get from that. That's like they, they didn't maybe feel the pressure to make any one record particularly like earth shattering. Of course, many of them were, but like
Right.
there was
I
this
get it. Yeah. I
feeling.
mean,
Yeah.
they make Sergeant Pepper's and they also make Let It Be, and some people would be like, oh, huh? But it's like, this is where we're at right now. Let's go. Here we are now. Let's go,
Exactly. And it felt like, because you know that you're just going to keep going and that there's going to be a next record no matter what, and a next one after that, that it's like, you don't need to make the thing you're working on right now be this like perfect thing that you toil over for years and years. And maybe there's something to that for sure. Like Boards of Canada puts out a record like once every 8 years or some shit. And they're,
Yeah, Hysteria took like 3 years by Def Leppard. Now it exploded.
oh yeah.
But I think also after a point, like you just like, I can't listen to this anymore. Fucking set it free. That Beatles doc really inspired me because to watch, because that's a perfect example of just do the thing every day. And you don't know when the creation is going to float around and drop onto you. So just be doing it. And then, here comes Get Back, dun, 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 dun. Where'd this come from,
I don't know if this is like historically accurate, but there's this like little bit of, I don't know, an anecdotal thing, historical thing that I've always kind of carried around with me, that like it's like this concept of like how, and again, I don't know if this is like actually true, but the ancient Greeks, I think, would like they would never call someone a genius, but like the way that their kind of language around that word was they would actually say that someone has a genius. Yeah. And we've sort of changed it into like this concept of celebrity, and like, we need our celebrities to be geniuses. We have to be able to call someone a genius. But instead of like, and there's something fun about that for sure. But like, when you're the one actually making the work, it's way more useful to think of it like I am not a genius, but if I keep showing up and putting pencil to paper, or just putting a guitar in my hands and like putting in some work, if 90% of what I come up with is like trash, but I'm doing it every day, I'm more likely for the, quote unquote genius to visit me and use me as a conduit, to like come into the world or whatever. But if you're only picking up the guitar once a month, but you still have this pressure on yourself, self-imposed, that I'm a genius, I need to come up with something great. It's like, you're probably going to be really frustrated. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And also the old, you start to get into this weird, horrific thing of like, God, I don't want to pick it up. I'm not going to come up with anything.
Yeah.
And you start to avoid what you are supposed to love. You're avoiding it at all costs because you think you're not going to come up with something, or you're going to fail. And it just gets into this insanity of, next thing you know, you're not even doing what you love for some reason.
Right.
The way I do it is, if the writing isn't coming, well, then I perform. And, like I'm performing every night. So the writing will come, or if the writing is coming, then I got to go perform it where it might not work. So It's just a constant thing. And then sometimes both of them come out at once and it's magic. And you're like, bam, wow, where did that come up? I was talking to somebody one time. I had this bit about 6 months ago about the Beatles doc. And I go, man, it just came out of nowhere. And this guy looked at me and he goes, don't they all? And it was so real. Damn. It was like, you know what? You're fucking right. That's where they all come from, out of nowhere.
Right.
At points in your life. I think we just look at it as like, well, it didn't come out of nowhere every day, Yeah. They all just come out of nowhere. I couldn't tell you where that bit came from, or the songs I wrote or in my past, They just came. It's weird.
Totally. And like you said earlier, like hearing them like noodle around on songs that are like legendary, but like it just kind of proves that point that like even songs that will be legendary start out as these little seeds of ideas that could really easily be squashed because you're being too critical too early of your, or like, and then that song just would never exist. So you have to be like very like, you have to treat it like like a newborn or something, where it's like, this could be shit, but like it could also be really great. So I'm gonna be gentle with myself right now, and like, I don't feel like I'm playing a legendary song necessarily, but like this could be something. And so it's like a very nurturing. Yeah.
Especially like Paul. I mean, at the time he's just strumming the bass, and in a Beatles world, you'd be like, well, that's not a Beatles song,
Yeah.
everything they do is just, it's all, it's not like dun 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 dun, gang and dun dun dun, that's like something you're doing when you're just getting some tones at sound check, like I hear the bass, dun 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 dun, So yeah, it's really weird where art comes from, and then the people that stay in it for a lifetime, sometimes those moments get further and further apart, but the longer you stay in, I know some bands that have been together 30 years and they put out some of the greatest records in the last 5 years. You're like, I can't even believe this record came to them this deep in their career, Let's talk a little bit about the artwork. You do the artwork for the covers, and I can see there's art behind you. You're also a painter, and both the records have very cool artwork. I dig that. At what point were you doing art? Were you painting all your life and drawing, or did you get into it at the same time as music?
I got into painting in high school, and I was definitely interested in music back then, but I wasn't really playing it very much. And then in college, I studied painting and got into landscape painting more, and just all of that, and just kind of exploded in my kind of love for it. So it was like, I think it was my passion before music, and then I would kind of like pursue it alongside music. Yeah, I also was really inspired by like Stanley Donwood, like from the Radiohead group, of like, the dedicated guy who he's just the visual artist for Radiohead and is essentially like a member of the band
and a key member, I mean, like, as much as their sound is also their visual and their videos and everything. You're right. Same with Tool,
Yeah, with Tool, exactly, for sure. And I've always really loved bands that have like a strong visual component. And yeah, so I just kind of tried to cultivate that, and it's been something I've enjoyed doing ever since.
How does Reggie Watts get involved? Hear you? How does that happen? Does he see you at a gig or something?
Yeah, he came to, let's see, well, it's sort of like a weird kind of like, there was a number of ways that we kept kind of crossing paths, but ultimately he came to actually our show with Shame and the band Sextile at Terragram. I believe it was in 2018. Drew, who was in the band at the time, like saw him at the merch booth and like just gave him a record and was like, yo man, what's up? And then I think that kind of like, sparked his, like, he reached out on Instagram, and then we just sort of like hit it off, and we've been buds ever since. Yeah, Reggie's the best. He's definitely been a very strong like advocate, and yeah, he does that for like a lot of really cool bands in LA. He's like very kind of like in the scene, and doesn't like, likes to really know what's kind of going on I guess the ground level or whatever.
Yeah, I'm the same way, man. I'm always looking for the new music, and trying to constantly find, like these bands over the years, they switch, 2, 3, 4 members. They tour for like 30 years. There's only one guy left and everything. And you go and you're like, it's not the same as when I remembered it when I first saw them. So I'm thinking, well, why not find the new such and such and the new such and such? And that's exciting to go out and see the energy of these bands when they don't have the mortgage and the divorce, 2 or 3 divorces that they're paying for, or a bad drug problem that wiped them out. And they're just out there. I saw a band, I won't even mention their name recently, that I loved. And they're so deep in their career now, they're playing. I was like, this is terrible. And I don't want to see my favorite memories terrible, So
Right.
I'd rather go seek out new stuff and exciting stuff and remember those bands that I loved from those great memories, when I first saw them. And I have new memories now of all kinds of new bands. It's amazing. Houndmouth is one of my favorite bands I've ever seen in the last 20 years. They're great. Yeah, young dudes that sound like the band. You're like, holy shit, these guys are great.
That's awesome. I'm with you on that for sure. It's definitely sad to see sometimes, but there's so much great stuff, especially here in LA. It's like we're spoiled for sure.
The record comes out on the 15th.
Yeah.
And which is a couple days away. And you guys are putting it out, so it'll be be able to stream it everywhere. Are there vinyl they can get, or what's going on there?
We will make vinyl, and there is an option to like pre-order it on Bandcamp. But I tried, and biggest kind of capital letters I could use to basically say like this will ship next year, because vinyl production is just so messed up right now and backlog. Yeah, so we definitely plan on doing it, but it's just kind of, and we're unsigned now, so it's kind of just like when it's here, it'll be here. And album comes out Friday the 15th, and then speaking of Reggie, actually, we're doing a LP release like celebration show in a little over a month from that point. It'll be on September 2nd at the Lodge Room, and Reggie has a band called Wahada, which is him and this really kind of legendary techno guy named John Tejada. So they put Watts and Tejada together to create Wahada. They're playing, and then our LA like BFFs, basically this band called Drag with 2 A's, is also playing as well.
Oh man, hit me up. I'll come down to that.
For sure, dude. Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. The Lodge, is that the old Bigfoot Lodge? Is it just the Lodge, or what is that?
No, it's a Lodge Room, and it's actually an old Masonic, lodge, I guess. The room itself, it does have kind of a creepy vibe, but it's cool. And it's like, it's in Highland Park on Figueroa, like off Figueroa.
Right. Oh, I think Queens of the Stone Age did a secret gig there once.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a mid-sized room, so it's like feels kind of big and small at the same time, which is cool.
The new record is called Hour of Green Evening. Comes out July 15th, and you can stream it everywhere. This tune, Wavy Maze, I think is just fantastic. And Emily says the whole record's got a great, great vibe. If you, like we said, if you're into Radiohead and some indie music, some airy stuff, you're going to love this. And check out Heaven is Humming, which you can stream on iTunes right now. And also any touring, or maybe, hopefully, what's going on there?
Definitely. We will, we've got some things in the works. It's all like, there's a one tour that, if this ends up being the only one, it'll still be cool, but it would be like North America, into Canada a little bit. And that would actually be like January into February, but we're looking at some options for getting out there before the end of the year. So stay posted on, the socials and whatnot. We'll definitely be announcing.
What are your socials? Is it just Goon Band or Goon? What is it?
They're all a little different. It's kind of obnoxious, but Instagram.
Worst, right? Yeah. Somebody needs to invent a hyperlink or whatever,
right,
where it's just Goon, and it'll just take you, no matter what your social is. That way people can't steal your moniker or whatever,
Right.
And then you just Goon socialmedia.com, and then it just blam, it comes up, So what is it? Instagram?
Instagram is at not Goon.
Not Goon.
And then Twitter is Goon Band. Yeah, Twitter's Goon Bands. What's the other one? Facebook. Oh, our website is goonisaband.com.
And you got merch and stuff?
Yeah, the merch actually is easiest to get on our Bandcamp, which is goon.bandcamp.com, but there's 3 O's.
Wow.
Goon.
So fucking confusing.
The 2 O's was taken. Yeah, so you'll find it.
Yeah. Well, good talking to you, man.
Dude, you too, man. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Looking forward to the record getting out there, and everybody check it out. July 15th on all the streaming platforms, and go see him live if you live in LA. September 2nd at the Lodge Room. And thank you so much, man.
Dude, thank you, Dean.
Yeah, you made a great record.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate it.
Yep. I'll talk to you soon, man. Hit me up anytime. Instagram, Dean Del Rey.
Awesome. Will do.
All right, man. I'll see you, bud.
All right. Later.
Later.